Three men are sitting together in a small room. Trouble is clearly written on all three of their faces. The three are officials from different casinos. One is from Caesar's Palace, one from MGM Grand, and one from the Bellagio. Each of them has a different problem, but when they tell their stories, the FBI officer finds something strange. People came into each casino. They borrowed millions of dollars and then disappeared. The first officer says, "Sir, we gave Charles Kant credit of $50,000. All his details were correct. Bank account, address, office, everything. But now neither can we find him nor are the payments coming back." The second officer says, "There was a man named Bill Hearn who used to come to our casino for 2 years. He always paid on time. We extended him credit up to $1,100,000. He too has disappeared." The third officer says, "We have 3 or 4 names like that. They all disappeared together." When the FBI began investigating, the truth came out. All those names were fake. Those people did not actually exist. No one raised a weapon. No one hacked a computer. And no one cheated at the games. They had simply made such perfect fake identities that the casino people happily handed them crores of rupees. The question was, who were these people? How did they do it? And the biggest question, how do you catch people who were never real to begin with? This is the story of the Roselli brothers. The cleanest casino robbery in American history. A case the FBI has still not solved. Inside a luxurious penthouse apartment, a man sits alone. A pile of papers lies scattered on the desk in front of him. Credit files, social security numbers, bank account details, information about old dormant accounts. But none of these is actually his. Some records belong to people who are dead. Some belong to people who haven't used their credit cards for years. All the records are perfectly clean. There is no inconsistency. The man's name is Charles Kant. At least that's what the papers say. The lease of the apartment carries that name. That name appears on the bank record. When someone calls, the answering service confirms that name. Yes, Charles Kant works here. But the truth is that Charles Kant is not real. Still, for the next 4 years, the casino people will continue to believe he is completely real. And that was the greatest brilliance of the whole plan. The entire scheme rested on one thing: casino loans. See, a casino loan is not like a bank loan. A bank will ask you 100 questions. It will investigate your whole life. But a casino runs on trust. So if you look rich, talk like a rich person, spend money like a rich person, and show papers to prove it, the casino will lend you chips worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Without any hesitation. And the team behind this whole scheme knew this very well. They called themselves the Roselli brothers. Frank Roselli and Anthony Roselli. But those names were fake too. There was no birth certificate, no school record, no family. In fact, they had stolen the name from a real gangster, Johnny Roselli. Johnny Roselli once worked for a major gang in Chicago. He even had some dealings with the CIA. But the people behind this fraud had nothing to do with Johnny. They only knew that the name sounded weighty. The casino people would think the Roselli name sounded familiar, perhaps like a big shot, and that was all they needed. A name that sounded trustworthy and had some history. Before stepping into a casino, the team had completed all their preparation. For every fake name they had created an entire past life. Each fake person had an address for a fancy apartment in a good neighborhood. Places like Fort Lee, where wealthy people live, so that the casino people would think, yes, this person looks wealthy. Behind every name there was a bank account with verified money in it. That cash was real and verified so that when the casino checked, they would believe the person was financially strong. They set up a phone service that worked like a real office. When someone called, a professional voice would answer, "Hello JDS Global. How can we help?" It sounded like a genuine company. They even created companies on paper. Names like International Consulting Firm, had letterheads printed, installed a voicemail system. They even hired a secretary. They paid attention to every tiny detail. Nothing was left out. Charles Kent, Bill Hearn, Robert Payne, Sean Grant. These names were either made from hacked credit data, or belonged to dead people whose credit histories were spotless. But the thing to understand is that their aim was not to use these names immediately. Their aim was to slowly build trust. They were patient. They knew that if things grew slowly, people would begin to believe on their own, and only then would the system they had built become strong. They opened accounts at several banks, deposited money and then waited, because casinos do not lend to just anyone on a whim. They sometimes wait months, sometimes years, to see you. They examine behavior. They watch how you spend money, whether you make payments on time or not, what your life is like. So the crew waited, and that was their greatest strength. By 1996, the Rossellis made their first move. They went to the MGM Grand in Las Vegas with their new identities, but they did not ask for any credit yet. They just gambled a little. They tipped the waiters well and lost most of the time. Yes, you heard right. They were losing on purpose. Every weekend they returned. Sometimes Charles Kant would sit at the baccarat table. Sometimes Bill Hearn would be at the craps game. Different faces, but the result was always the same. A little winning, more losing. Always speaking very politely, always remaining calm, never getting into an argument. And occasionally they would win a big sum, just enough to make the casino people think this person was lucky. But most of the time they were giving money to the casinos. After 6 months they went to the credit office. "I need some credit," they said, and as expected, approval came immediately. They took $500 in chips, played and lost. But a week later they paid back the full amount without any delay. No excuses. From the same bank account the casino had verified months earlier. The casino owners were impressed. This man is trustworthy, they thought. They offered more credit, this time $100,000, and the result was the same. The Rossellis kept losing but always paid on time, always in full, never even a single day late. They were no longer limited to a single casino. Slowly they began to connect with many casinos. Atlantic City, Puerto Rico, Caesars, Bellagio, Mirage, Tropicana. One by one they built their hold everywhere. Every time with a new identity, every time a new line of credit, and each time the same pattern: look wealthy, lose chips, repay the debt, and the game continued. By 1998, the Rosselli operation had obtained casino credit worth more than several $1,000,000. All that credit was given correctly, to people who did not actually exist. And the biggest thing was that so far they had not stolen a single dollar. Because this was not a petty fraud. This was a long, well-thought-out plan, and the longer they waited, the more they could take when the time came. By the end of 1998, the Rosselli family had opened credit lines at more than half a dozen casinos. But 2 people alone could not run this operation forever. They needed more people and more names, and people who could play these roles perfectly. So they built a network. New members were recruited, but the plan remained the same. Slow, steady, and absolutely perfect. Each new member had a different job. The main player, he was the face who appeared at the casino. This man signed on the credit marker, played the games, shook hands with the host, and behaved like a regular customer. The second was the backup bettor. This person would sit opposite at the same table, and place counter bets. Meaning if one bet red, the other bet black. If one lost, the other won. On paper both looked like big winners. In reality the money was simply moving from one side to the other. The third was the chips casher. This person never gambled. He would stay near the cashier, bring small amounts of chips, and quietly convert them to cash. Always staying within reporting limits, always invisible. Every person was trained thoroughly. What to say, what not to say, how to behave, where to stand, what watch to wear, how to dress. Everything was planned. As time passed, casinos became more cautious. They began verifying employers. They started doing background checks and making phone calls. So the Rossellis set up real businesses to support their lies. JDS Global, Worldwide Western, these were legally registered companies. They had real office address. There was an answering service, a voicemail system, business mail subscriptions, and a trained receptionist to confirm everything. Charles Kant worked as a senior investment advisor in Fort Lee. Bill Hearn had an office as a financial analyst in Midtown. If someone called, they got a receptionist, not a voicemail. If someone sent a letter, it arrived. If someone Googled the company name, it appeared in the business directory. Nothing reached the Rossellis directly, but everything looked utterly real, and that was the whole trick of the game. There was no haste, no hurry, and no room for error. The network ran like the hands of a clock, across states, across casinos, across names, because for them this was not just a gambling scam, it was an infrastructure game, And now everything was ready. They were only waiting for the right time. December 31, 1999. Las Vegas, the biggest night of the century. The whole world was worried about Y2K. People feared computers would crash. Would banking systems fail? Would planes fall from the sky? While crowds watched fireworks and celebrated on the Strip, the Rosselli team was watching the clock. The team was spread across the Vegas Strip, at Caesars Palace, MGM Grand, Mirage, Bellagio, Tropicana, even in Puerto Rico and Atlantic City. Each identity had a job. Every man knew exactly what to do. They were not doing anything rushed. They were following a sequence rehearsed for months. Every fake name went to the credit office. I want to increase my credit line. Everyone made the same request. Casino operators looked at the file. These accounts had been open for over a year. No payments had been missed. High-stakes games had been played consistently. Behavior had always been good. The casinos had no reason to reject the requests. So lines were increased. From 500 to 100,000 it went. From 100,000 to 500,000 it reached. Some reached 75,000, and some even up to 1 million. These were not suspicious offers. These were rewards. Casinos give this to their trusted players, and the Rosselli team had spent 5 full years earning that trust. With chips in hand, every identity came to the tables. Baccarat, craps, roulette, blackjack. No crazy bets, no suspicious wins. Just enough action to maintain the illusion. They were behaving normally at some casinos. On the same table, under another name, one of them was placing bets on the opposite outcome, neutralizing the risk, maintaining the image. Everything appeared normal. After all the bets were settled, the real move began. One after another, chips were brought to the cashier cages, not in small systematic amounts like before. This time there was no limit, no caution, no IRS reporting threshold. They cashed out everything. In one transaction, $700, in another $900, $1,500, amounts like that. Within minutes, clean chips worth 6 figures were converted into cash. No one asked any questions. These were well-known players, the kind of players who always paid. The casino security didn't find anything strange until it was already too late. None of them stayed the night. No one went back to their hotel rooms. No one took a flight under their real name. Everything had been planned in advance. Exit routes were decided. Cars were rented under fake identities. The cash was divided. Routes were assigned. Within a few hours, some people had already left Nevada. Others disappeared into different cities and were never seen again. In the days that followed, the casinos didn't suspect anything. They assumed, as always, that the players would pay their markers back. They sent reminders, "Sir, your payment is due." Then they sent statements, "Please make the payment soon." And they made phone calls, but there was no response. Weeks passed, and when nothing happened, the casino management started to get a little worried. But they thought maybe the players were on vacation or busy with something. Months of silence went by. When not even a single dollar came back, the casinos finally started investigating the notes, and that's when the truth came out. Different names, different states. But the same strategy, the same credit pattern, the same timing, the same result. Everything was gone, not a single dollar returned. By the time the casinos contacted law enforcement, it was already too late. The FBI started its investigation in June 2. The names were stolen, the identities completely fake. The people completely vanished. No trail, no passport records, no real names, just a clean disappearance. And behind them, $37 million gone, vanished into thin air. No violence, no weapons, no alarms, just patience, precision, and perfect timing. The FBI started digging through records, bank accounts, company registrations, phone numbers, lease agreements. Everything was checked, and everything appeared real, until it turned out not to be. The names led nowhere. The Rosselli brothers had never actually existed. Charles Kent, deceased since 1987. Bill Hearn, stolen identity. Robert Payne, not found in Social Security records. Bank accounts closed. Business addresses empty. Office numbers disconnect. One after another. Every thread ended in the same place, nowhere. Some identities were taken from dead people. Others were stolen from living citizens with clean credit histories. When the FBI reached out to those real people, they were shocked. They had no idea their names had been used for a multi-million-dollar casino scam. The official loss, more than $37 million from 7 casinos. No physical evidence left behind, no suspect named, no arrests made. And the most painful part, the casinos had to admit that they had been completely fooled. The industry's reaction was immediate. Casinos tightened their credit policies. Where 6 months of verification used to be enough, it now stretched to 12 to 18 months. Background checks were upgraded. Multi-source verification became mandatory. Surveillance systems were updated with new software to detect unusual patterns. Transaction limits were lowered. Nevada and beyond, new anti-fraud protocols were introduced. This scam had exposed vulnerabilities no one had ever imagined. It wasn't just that someone had tricked the casinos. They had created a perfect lie, maintained it for years, and vanished without a trace. The Rosselli case remained open for years. The FBI followed every possible lead, checked international connections, traced financial trails, talked to informants, but found nothing. Eventually, without any suspects, without any solid evidence, and without any progress, the FBI quietly closed the case in 2. Officially, it was marked as unsolved. The FBI still calls it one of the cleanest financial crimes ever committed in the world of gambling. To this day, no one knows who the Rosselli brothers really were. Were they part of organized crime, financial expert, former casino employees who knew the system from the inside? Some believe they were part of Eastern European fraud rings. Others think they were American con artists, who spent years planning this. The truth is, no one knows. Whoever they were, they did their job with such perfection that they were never caught. They didn't use any weapons, didn't hurt anyone, and didn't hack any system. They used just one thing. And they proved that the biggest theft is not the one done with force. It's the one you don't even realize has happened until it's too late. $37 million gone, and the people behind it are still out there somewhere, maybe under new names, living new lives. And that's what makes this story the most chilling of all. So friends, this is where our story ends. If you liked it, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more such fascinating stories. Thank you for watching till the end.